Am I live now?
We are. People are just coming in to see you. How does it feel?
Just got to make sure I don't swear.
You should set realistic goals, Johnny.
True. Okay. I shouldn't swear too often or too badly.
No, I'm sure some of these people who are joining are familiar with Johnny. You know what he's like. He's not going to keep it totally PG for you, but he's definitely going to lead with the value, help us get rich with our blogs. Is that the promise today?
Yeah, if people actually apply it. But like I just said to you off camera, um, a lot of people get the gold and then, you know, David Goggins says it's a difference between motivation and drive. It's easy for me to fill people with motivation, run ultra marathons and make some money and do all this, and then you feel motivated, but that's not the gift. The gift is to be driven when no one's around you and still put the hours in. That's where the success comes. Motivation, when you hear a buzz from an energetic person like me, that's cheap, but having drive, that's invaluable.
What do you do when nobody is watching? That is the vibe today. Johnny's going to give us everything we need to succeed, but it's up to you to implement this. So you're in for a treat, everybody. Let us know in the chat where in the world you're joining from. We also put a little silly poll up there because Johnny has done some extreme things since we last had him as a webinar guest. And so maybe he'll tell us about some of those stories if you're interested. And so who's joining us today? We got Mark from Canada, Italy, Bosnia, Colombia, Ireland. I'm in Costa Rica today, Johnny. Where are you? You back home?
Yeah, I just got back 6 days ago. I'm in Thailand. What's Costa Rica? What's going on there?
Sunny, beautiful. I'm in a property where there's lots of chickens and roosters. So if you hear any clucking,
Where
that's
are
what
you?
that is. In the Puerto Viejo on
Oh,
the Caribbean side.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Okay.
the Bali of Central America, is it?
I I think it's competing for that. I would say so. It's definitely becoming more and more popular. I see some people in the chat are in Costa Rica as well. That's amazing. We also got Greece, Nairobi, India, Puerto Rico, more
Can you get a
Canadians,
good? Can you get good
Portugal.
smooth? Can you get good smoothie bowls in Puerto Viejo?
You can get smoothie bowls. Yeah. Yeah.
I live
I
off
make
those.
them myself. Yeah. I've got a
Yeah,
blender. I got some fruit. I've got lunch after this. Don't make me too hungry. We still got to work, Johnny.
yeah, okay, okay. Peanut butter, cacao, and banana is the best one.
Love
Or
that. Yeah.
mango passion fruit.
Cacao. So good. Okay, everybody, you can see we are keen to get Johnny,
Ooh.
passing over the mic to him and get started. So if you're new here, I'm Sam. I have the amazing opportunity of hosting this webinar series and getting to meet so many incredible, talented creators like Johnny. When I'm not doing this, I have my own podcast called The Freedom Lifestyle, which is all about creating schedule freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, which I know is a big motivator for Johnny. If you don't know Johnny, he is an Irish blogger and travel content creator, started his blog One Step Forward in 2009, turned it into a multi-million-dollar company, has visited every country in the world, is on a mission to visit the North and the South Pole. I believe you just
Finished
did
it.
one,
Just finished
right?
them both. Finished it all. Finished it
Check.
all last week.
We need to update this bio. Has
Yeah.
visited the North and the South Pole. Are you still on a mission to climb the highest
Finished.
mountain on every continent, though?
Completed it, mate. Completed it.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to take a stab at editing this bio because you know what's missing? Has been on the SafetyWing webinar series 3 times. 3 times. This is his third time joining us. And if you were at the last one, today's content is really going to build on what we learned in the last one. Not a total prerequisite, but if you haven't watched it, definitely go watch that replay. Just like today, it was total gold. And we like to keep these things interactive. So you'll see a chat box. We also have a Q&A box. Put your questions throughout. Johnny has actually given me permission to interrupt him about halfway through to take some questions, which is something we never do. We usually save them to the end, but we really want to make sure you leave with the exact tailored information that you need to make this happen to grow your blog. So that's the plan for today. Use that Q&A box. If you are new here, this webinar series is powered by SafetyWing. SafetyWing has a vision of building a global social safety net for remote workers, for nomads, like so many of you on the call. And they're creating a suite of products with all of us in mind. The most popular product is Nomad Insurance, our fastest growing product, protects you with health and medical coverage anytime you are traveling and probably working outside of your home country. And so SafetyWing's mission really is to be your home country on the internet. Lots of new products that we've added. Check out the website. And you can also learn about becoming an ambassador for us if you too have a travel blog or create content similar to Johnny. So you'll learn a little bit about that today as well. On that note, I'm ready to stop talking. Are you ready to start, Johnny?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. You can share your screen. We
Oh, God.
I think we already have some more questions in here about the replay. Definitely. Let's send that in the chat.
Is that working, my shared screen there, Sam?
Looks so good.
Great. I can't see what you can see, but I'll trust you.
Yeah. I'll let you know if there's any issues. I'm going to stop the poll. Wow, it's 50-50. Half the people want to know as much as they can about PBNs, and half the people want to hear about your epic adventure. So we're just going to have to give them both. We're just going to have to make time for both, Johnny.
Yeah, 50-50. Wow, is there? All right, yeah, sure. We'll just do a couple of quick ones.
Cap. All you.
All right, so crack on, eh? Hey, folks. Thanks for joining again. My third and maybe final. I just asked SafetyWing if they want to sponsor my big Q&A about finishing the Ultimate Explorers Grand Slam. Let's see if they want to throw some money my way, or I have to do it solo. Either way, I'll be doing it in the next couple of weeks. But back to like the bread and butter of how I live this lifestyle. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Sam tells me you can, which is the homepage here. So the first call that we did, we talked about how blogs make money, kind of entry level. And then the second one, we started to cover keyword research a little bit, but I was quite rushed at the end. So I'm going to go through that for the first 10 or 15 minutes, just to reiterate keyword research, because it's so important to blogging, even though it's a bit boring. And then I'm going to talk about a PBN, private blog network, which is, I believe, the difference between the bloggers that I know that have made 7 figures and more, and the bloggers who sadly are struggling by on $500 a month, living in Bali or Thailand, pretending to live the dream, but struggling to pay the bills. We don't want to be those guys. All right, so let's start. How do I turn this? There we go. Okay, who am I? Unless you've either come from my audience already, guys, so thank you, or you might have come from SafetyWing because they promoted it too. If you don't know who I am, can you see my cursor, hopefully? Last week, I was in Antarctica. I just went to the South Pole and also to climb the highest mountain in Antarctica, Mount Vinson, and I also ran a marathon while I was there because they had left the track up and had nothing to do one day. Anyway, I just became the first person in history to complete the Ultimate Explorers Grand Slam, which I've spelt wrong because I'm an idiot. Every country in the world, 7 summits, North and South Pole. Thank God that's done. I can spend my money on something else instead of spending a fortune on all these expeditions. I also run a charity at meditaadventures.com where normal tour companies take the sales revenue from the people who they travel with, and we use it for sustainable projects in developing communities. We have got actually 4 weeks today, 27th of Feb or 28th of Feb. We're flying to Afghanistan to go skiing. And we're doing a big food donation in Bamiyan in Afghanistan. I climbed Everest with the first Afghani person to be on the summit of Everest. He was in my expedition, and we plotted it together as we were stuck in a tent for months. So we're off there in 4 weeks, and we actually just had 2 cancellations on that trip. So if you want to come skiing in Afghanistan with me, the first week of Feb, last day of Feb, first week of March, please email me or message me in the chat here or Instagram me and we can sort that out. We had 2 cancellations this week. I think people are scared, but there's no need to be scared. Okay, so that's who I am. I've made $3 million from my blog and a lot more since with all my other investments that all came from my blog. And starting my blog was basically the thing that changed my life. Teaching English in Asia and then during that process starting my blog were the 2 best decisions I ever made, and I couldn't encourage other people more to do both of those things. Absolute game changers for me. So quick recap from the first 2 calls. I don't want to get bogged down in this stuff because you can watch that on the YouTube uploads that SafetyWing have just put in the chat. I can see it on my other screen there. The first stuff we talked about were how blogs make money, and there's 4 basic ways. CPM, ad revenue. If you want to go hear about these in depth, please watch the first of my 3 videos with SafetyWing. It goes through them all in depth. Ad revenue is basically when you go on my blog, you can barely bloody read the article because there's so many effing ads between the paragraphs. Sorry, not sorry. That's how I can pay to go to the South Pole. That's the basic advertising model of blogs. A lot of people read it and you get paid by people, by those advertisers that are wedged in between every paragraph. Off-page stuff is stuff like this, public speaking, running tours, whatever it is. Once you've built a following, you have to be a moron not to be able to monetize it. So if you can monetize it and do some good and give some people some cool experiences, it's a win-win-win for everyone. But you need to build your audience first. So back to the blog, back to the bread and butter of the blog. Affiliate marketing is when I write a blog post about a new Samsung TV. I don't do that, obviously, because I'm a travel blogger, but if I did, I could write an article about the new Samsung TV, tell everybody how amazing it is. And if anyone buys it and they use my link, I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. And if you've got thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of readers, that can add up to millions of dollars. And then the 4th one here, sponsored content, is what I focused on a lot in the second call and what I'm going to be talking a lot about today on about PBNs. That's basically when a third-party company, like Emirates or an airline or whatever, asks to pay, supplies a blog post or an article to me and gives me $500, $1,000 or whatever. They send me the article via email. I publish it on my blog and they send me $500, $1,000, whatever it is, via PayPal. Boom, 2 minutes work. And that can happen multiple times per day. But it breaks the Google's terms and conditions. Doesn't break the law, but it breaks Google's terms and conditions. So you risk getting your blog dragged off Google, which has happened twice to me. But I've made millions of dollars from it. So it's worth the risk. And you can always get put back on when you go with a cap in hand and say, sorry, Google. That actually happened to me recently. Okay. What is SEO? Again, we talk about this in the second call. I'm not going to get bogged down with that either. SEO, search engine optimization. It means when you Google 2-week itinerary in Thailand or whatever, and then you see you get the first 3 sponsored results in the Google search results. The first 3 are sponsored. It says sponsored above them. Only your mom and dad click on that. Anyone under the age of 50 knows that it's sponsored and ignores it. And then you get the real results, the first, second, third, fourth, and there's 10 results on the first page. You need to be on the first page or your content never gets read by anyone, almost literally nobody. So the whole point of blogging, if you want to make money, if you want to have your voice heard, you need to be on page 1. How do you get on page 1? The process that you go through that we talked about in the second call is search engine optimization. It's super easy. It's much easier than people think. Everyone tries to sell snake oil courses online for $2,000 to teach you this and that. There's 5 or 6 basic rules that you need to learn that I kind of covered in the second call, to be honest. Like 1, 2, 3 hours of SEO studying is enough to understand 80% of SEO. And if anyone's ever read Malcolm Gladwell or understands the Pareto principle, this Italian economist, the 80-20 rule, you don't need to know 100%. You only need to know 80%. Forget the last 20%. It's convoluted and complicated. Learn the 80%, apply that, and you're going to be banging with SEO. I'm crap at technology. I'm a procrastinator. My writing is average, and I've made millions of dollars from blogging. So if I can do it, for sure you can work harder than me. You can be a more talented writer than me, and you can master SEO better than me. Anyone can do it, but people are lazy, so they don't. But here we go. So SEO is understanding how things rank, how Google chooses to put what as the first result, second result, third result. What's the weather in Spain in June? What's the first result? What's the second result? What's the third result? You need to be in the first 10 results or nobody will ever read your stuff. And SEO is the constant battle to be on that first page of Google. Okay. PBNs, this is the wrong way around. We're going to talk about PBNs after the halfway point. Even if I'm midway through the keyword research, which we're going to recap now, I'm going to stop talking about keyword research because PBNs are juicy. No one seems to talk about them online. I should be getting paid more today to talk about them because it's the golden ticket and how a lot of my friends here in Chiang Mai have made, let's say, $1 million plus working online, registered in a tax-free country, living the dream. All right. But before we do that, you need to understand keyword research, which is, again, a more boring topic. But if you don't know this, you can't do the PBNs. So keyword research. We talked a little bit about it in the second call. So I'm going to go over it a little bit and then also go into a bit more depth because I felt really rushed and it's actually really important, even though it's a bit boring. So the thing that we're going to cover most is a tool online that I don't have any affiliation with. I wish I did. I'm sure they make a fortune. It's called Key Search. When we talk about keyword research, there's a few different tools that people use. And when you Google, what's the best tools to use for keyword research? You'll see all the big players getting featured. That's normally because they pay affiliate marketing fees to people promoting them. They also are the best. There's SEMrush, there's Moz, there's Ahrefs. These are the big companies that help people do their keyword research, but they're really expensive, $100 plus per month. So I'm here to say, like I said, 80-20 principle, you don't need all those sexy in-depth tools, certainly not at the start of your journey. And until you're making 50K a year, 100K a year from your blogs and your websites, don't worry about those expensive tools. You can use one called keysearch.co, which I'm about to show you guys now. We covered it a little bit in the second call, and I don't know how much it is. I pay it on direct debit every month for years. It's $5 or $12 or something, around $10 per month. And that tool is more than enough. You can make, I made my first million with that tool before I went to any of the more in-depth tools. So you don't need the sexy in-depth ones. All right. So keyword research. We'll try to do this. What the halfway point is in 10 minutes. I'm going to try to cover this in 10 minutes before Sam interrupts me as instructed. All right. What is keyword research and why keyword research matters? All right. So keyword research, when you're writing a blog post, as we discussed last time, you can't just write about what you want to write about because no one will ever find it on Google. If you call it Johnny Ward's thoughts on building a house in Chiang Mai as a foreigner, no one can ever find that. No one can find that topic because when they Google it, what are they going to Google to find that exact match? You need to be smart about the title of your blog post. You need to be smart about how you structure your blog post. So keyword research is when you choose the specific terms that you want people to find you when they search on Google. So for example, I just built my house in Thailand, right? And I wrote a blog post about that. And I wanted to name it Building My Dream House. Like if I was a YouTuber, my video would be called Building My Dream House. But from a blogging perspective and from a Google perspective and from an SEO perspective, that's not how it doesn't work intuitively like that. I have to think, which we talk about here. I have to think about the user intent. So if I write a blog post called Building My Dream Home, no one Googles Building My Dream Home, or let's say fewer people Google that. Whereas thousands of people will Google building a house in Thailand, right? So I want to write a sexy story about me building my dream home, patting myself on the back, but no one's going to find it. So I have to think about, what are people going to search for? They're going to search for building a house in Thailand, building a home in Thailand, buying a property in Thailand. And you think about all these different key terms, right? Keywords. And then you have to think about which keyword is the most popular and which is the easiest to rank for. But you don't just think about that in your mind. There is a tool for that, and that is key search, which, if we bring it up here, you can see it. Here we go. So, for example, I was going to write a blog post today about 10 other Irish bloggers that I know. I was going to write 10 best Irish blogs, 10 best travel blogs in Ireland. I was doing some keyword research about that, but that's not important. So this is key search. When you sign up, it's pretty simple. Like we covered it last time. Okay, if you guys, for the guys who followed me, you know I run a lot of trips in Mauritania, the country in West Africa, and you can hitch a ride on that, the longest train in the world from that the iron ore mine in the middle of the Sahara. And then you jump on top of it and ride through the Sahara as like a hitchhiker passenger for 14 hours through the Sahara. Really amazing experience. And I wrote a blog post about it, and it ranks currently number 4. It was number 1 for a while. Anyway, when I wrote that blog post, I'm thinking like, okay, I want to write the coolest train journey in the world, but no one's searching for that. So I have to think about, okay, what is that train called? It's called the iron ore train. So I need to title my article Iron Ore Train. So then I open key search, I type iron ore train. These are the keywords that I think I'm going to write about. And I want to use key search to confirm if this is the correct keyword or if I should tweak it a little bit. So I put in iron ore train. I think I'm going to use that as my title. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the volume here. This is how many searches in the whole world per month are searching for this term. This can be off by a factor of 5. So figure it's between 1 and 5,000. So you can see iron ore train Mauritania, for example, has only got 720 searches, whereas iron ore train has got 1,000 searches. So basically this confirms to me that this is the juiciest keyword. It's got the highest search volume. And then we talk about how difficult it is to rank for that search term. If you remember from the first call and the second call, I don't want to go over this again because we spoke about it a lot in the second call. Every website is ranked from 0 to 100 in terms of how important it is, or how important Google thinks it is, and that's called domain rating. And using key search, they have a different system where they rank each search term's difficulty from 0 to 100. Okay, when you're on key search, you can go to Explorer and put your own website in here. This is a great tool. So when you're in key search, you can watch this back on YouTube later, so don't worry if it's too quick. You click on Explorer here, whack in your own blog here, and it'll tell you you can score easily anything that's 42 or lower for keyword difficulty. I've got a chance of ranking number 1 for. And if you're a bit better, you can go higher than that. Okay, so that's 42, right? Then if I go back to my keyword research, iron ore train, what score of difficulty was that? 33. So I know that I can rank number 1, or so the tool tells me. I'm currently number 4, so that means I'm making a few mistakes, but I can easily get punted back up to the first search result. Perfect. So this is what we use key search for. I use it every day. I never write blog posts without it. First of all, when you're about to create a blog post, you think about the topic, right? And then you think about the title that you want to write it. Then you put this title into key search. You see if there's any better options to use different keywords instead of the keywords that you think. And then you tweak your title accordingly based on the volume and based on the difficulty. We talked about this a little last time, so I want to move on kind of quickly. What's the point of keyword research? It drives organic traffic. The more people that end up on your website, the more money you make. And the only way to get more people on your website is to be on page 1 when people search for stuff. And the only way to be on page 1 when people search for stuff is by writing blog posts that you've done your keyword research, like I just showed you in key search. It allows you to understand your audience. It gives you insights into the user intent. It allows you to niche down. I hope you guys all understand this concept of niche websites and niching down. 10 years ago when I started my blog, you could just start a travel blog and talk about anything you want, and that's fine. Now, it's still very easy to make money blogging, but it's much easier to make money from a more specific topic. To just blog about travel in general, it's too vague in the current climate. To just blog about fitness or just blog about food, it's too vague. You would need to blog about fitness for guys over 40, or English desserts, or travel in Thailand. It's much better, certainly at the start of your blogging journey, to have a specific niche, and then you can expand as you grow. Keyword research allows you to beat your competition, allows you to stay ahead in your niche. And each time, this process is very simple. You discover the keyword, you analyze the keyword, and then you implement the keyword. Again, I know I'm going through this quite quickly, but you can rewatch this on YouTube. So a very sneaky but useful thing that key search allows you to do is competitor analysis. So for example, I can hop on competitor analysis up here and go to organic keywords. My best mate Anthony's a blogger here in Chiang Mai. He owns manversusclock.com. So this tool allows me to think about my competition, other blogs that I'm competing with. I can throw it in key search and see what they're ranking for. So my authority is actually slightly higher than Anthony's. So I wouldn't do this to him because he's my best mate. But what I could do, because I know that my domain rating is higher than Anthony's, I hit search. I could see what he's ranking for. I know my domain rating is higher than his, and I could target every one of his keywords. And no matter what he's currently ranking for on page 1, I could overtake him. Don't do that for your friends. Think of all the bloggers that you don't like and do it for them. Not very difficult, because bloggers are often dickheads. So look, he's ranking for example, he's ranking for 1-day Havana itinerary. But actually the traffic is 0 for that. But he's also ranking for backpacking in Papua New Guinea. Traffic 27, it's small, but I could rank for that. So I could start a blog post tomorrow called using this exact keyword, and I would be able to rank on page 1. And if you were to do this, if you were to make a list of blogs that have got a lower domain rating than you can basically use this to search what they're ranking for and outrank them. Kind of mean, but it's dog eat dog in the business world. Hey, Sam.
Hey, you ready for a very specific question to kind of help put this into practice?
Hit me.
So James specifically says, what if I have a DA rating of 7, but I want to write a pillar of content, something around 3 days, itinerary somewhere in the world, but that specific keyword is out of my range. What should they do? Should they just focus on lower ranked keywords until they get the higher DA, or what would you advise?
There's 2 things they need to do, and you'll see me singing about it for basically the whole hour on the second call. Domain rating is everything. Do everything in your power to increase your domain rating. If you're just going to flirt with a DA or a DR of 7 for your whole life and try to rank that, you're going to fail. You need to increase your DR. That has to be your priority. And of course, in the meantime, you still want to create content. That's cool. Go for long tail keywords. So it's not 3 days. It's 3 days in summer and full sentences. And you just have to go for low search volume, long tail keyword. But more importantly is to increase the DR. And I talked about in the second call, or the first or the second call, I can't remember which, I outlined 4 ways, like little hacks to increase your DR. And that's what they should focus on.
Getting links from other blogs. I remember that. Check, gold star. Okay, next question. The tool that you were using just now, is that a free tool? I don't know if there was multiple, but someone specifically asked that.
There's a free trial, but I think it's about $10 a month.
Okay.
And I would say Generation Z and all that, cancel your fucking Netflix and pay for the tool that makes you money if you can't afford it.
Whoa, that's what we're going to use to post the replay for this. Okay, last one from Jenny. What is a good domain rating to aim for?
30.
30. Cool. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Carry on.
Wait. Okay, that means I'm going to rush through 5 minutes key search. I want to talk about PBNs. All right. So you saw the spying, search volume, understand the popularity, keywords, competition. We talked a little bit about relevance. Of course, you want to choose the keywords that are relevant to your blog. I can't start trying to rank for how to run marathons under 3 hours because most of my stuff's about travel. Long tail, we talked about in a second. Long tail keyword is when you target a longer sentence, but we talked about this in the second video. So if you're feeling a bit lost, please watch the second video. The links are in the chat. Implement the perfect blog post. We talked about the structure in the second call, and I showed you one of my blog posts from the back end of WordPress. Go and check that out. You can copy it. Pillar posts and satellite posts, we talked about again. When you want to rank, you want to create one big, sexy, long form piece of content, 3, 4, 5,000 words, 6, 7,000 if you can be bothered. The longer, the better. Google loves long form content, black and white. And then you want to create 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 subsidiary topics around the pillar content. So if you're going to talk about 3 weeks in Thailand itinerary, and that's your pillar content, you want to write packing list for Thailand, best time to visit Thailand, is it safe to visit Thailand, how much does it cost to visit Thailand, and you build all these other pieces of content. Hopefully those other pieces of content rank as well, but that's not the real goal. The real goal is they'll all be linking back to your pillar content, and you want to do that for every piece of content. It's a lot of work, but then there's a lot of money to be made. So if you want to reap the rewards, you got to put the work in. That's it. And then track. This is very, 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 very quickly. SERP Robot is a really cool tool that actually Anthony, the guy who's using the last example, showed me. SERP Robot I just set up a new system of like it allowed you to track how you're ranking. So you put this is $2.99 a month or something, or $3.99 a month. It's cheap. You put your blog in here. You start a new project by adding your blog to your profile, and then you can track. You manually input all these keywords. Like I'm trying to rank for these keywords. Koh Phangan, it's an island in Thailand. Very beautiful if you want to go untouched. Greenland itinerary is a new one that I'm trying to rank for. I'm currently #1. Khao Lak itinerary, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I type these keywords in, and SERP Robot tracks these over time and tells me, am I improving or look, am I going up or am I going down? Really cool tool, and it's like less than $5 a month. So it's a very good way to track if you are growing or regressing. All right. And the red means I'm currently regressing because Google just penalized me for selling too many adverts. And I don't care, Google, because I'm living in a mortgage-free house in Thailand because of it. All right. We've got, what, 20 minutes for me to change your life here. Okay. PBN. This is what turned me from making 100 grand to $1 million, or 300 grand to $3 million. It really changed my life, this. And a lot of people sneer at the concept, but there's so much money to be made. If they knew that, they wouldn't be sneering so much. As we talked about both in the first and the second call, how people think that bloggers make money is affiliate marketing and those annoying ads on every article that you read. If you go to any of my articles on my site, you'll see them. And they are two large sources of revenue. And some bloggers do make all their money from that. That's cool. I also make a lot of money from that. But there's a third way that's an easy way to make money, which is sponsored content, as I told you guys. As we talked about in the second call, the vast majority of SEO, if we ignore all the bullshit tech stuff, is you need as many links to your site as possible. And then for third-party companies, they need links to their site. So their companies rank higher for best plumber in Connecticut or whatever they're trying to rank for. So they pay you to publish a blog post on your blog, and then you link to the best plumber in Connecticut, and then they hopefully finish first on Google for best plumber in Connecticut. And they pay you X amount of money for that. The very basic rule of thumb for how much they should pay you to publish that blog post is you should add a 0 to your DR. So if your DR is 50, you should charge them 500. If your DR is 20, you should charge them 200. However, it's hard to get into this game until your DR is 30, because DR 30 is a kind of threshold of when you can start to impact the Google search results. The strength of your link is strong enough to impact the search results. So that's why you really want to strive to get to DR 30 as soon as possible. All right, cool. So you get to DR30 as soon as possible, then you can start selling these sponsored posts. Just remember that you are breaking Google's terms and conditions, and they can remove you from their Google searches. But as I said earlier in the call, you can remove all those links and apologize, and they always reinstate you. I can speak from experience. All right. So it's very easy to make money from this method if you're willing to break the Google rules. And basically every blogger does it all the way up to the top, because it's such easy money. They send you the content and you publish it. It takes 30 seconds. I did 3 posts this morning when I woke up. I just got back to Thailand, and I made maybe $800 from those 3 posts. Took me 20 minutes max, barely had time to boil a kettle. And that's how easy it is. So this is why I really encourage people, first of all, to be a blogger in the first place, but secondly, to build your DR, because as soon as your DR is 30 plus, you can do this constantly and make such easy money. When we started doing this 10 years ago, and this is when we talk about PBNs, me and my friends, suddenly we were making 3, 4, 5K a month from our one blog. We were working 2-3 hours a week. Wow, this is the dream. Getting drunk in Thailand, barely switching your laptop on. And after a few months of partying and getting fat, you realize like, wow, actually, if you apply yourself, there's no reason for it to be 3 grand. Why is it not 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand a month? And how can you extrapolate your income? And again, speaking from experience, from like this OG blogger outlook, most bloggers just sat on their thumb and took the 2, 3, 4, 5 grand and like kind of a average / decent Western income, and they never expanded. Whereas me and my friends, we all got together and thought, how can we double, triple, quadruple our income? And that's when we stumbled across this concept of PBNs, which is a private blog network. Private blog network is kind of exactly what it says. You want to own a host of websites, more than one. At one point, I owned 200. Now I think I've got about 60 or 70. I have a team of people who manage them. But the goal, as I say here, first of all, you have to start your blog. And I spoke about this in the first and second call. That's your absolute baby, and you want to build that with your own personal brand, with your face on it, and be proud of it, like the way I'm proud of mine. That'll also organically increase your traffic. It'll organically increase your DR because it's something you're passionate about. So do that. Try not to take any shortcuts for your baby. But this other stuff, take as many shortcuts as you can. You want to aim to have 5 sites as quick as possible. Your one big, sexy personal site plus 5 generic sites, okay? I own 30, 40 travel blogs, but my face isn't on them. They're full of AI content. I used to have writers for them, but now obviously I just use ChatGPT, and I'll just type it in here. What's the name of this one that I use? This one. This is, instead of ChatGPT, this is a better, I'll just put it in the chat there. That's a better AI content writer. Koala, it's called. We don't need content writers anymore. We can just use that. It's pretty amazing. Okay, and what type of sites should you aim to build? Initially, you want them all in the same niche. So obviously my main blog is a travel blog. My first 5 or 10 sites were all travel. Why? The whole point of the PBN is Emirates come to me and say, Johnny, we just launched a new flight to Calcutta. Emirates.com, the new URL for the page on our site is emirates.com/flights to Calcutta. They've just created that page. When people are Googling for flights to Calcutta, the Emirates page is not ranking because it's new and there's no links to it. So they come to people like me. We write a blog post about Calcutta or whatever, generic topic in India or whatever, and we link to that exact URL, emirates.com/flights to Calcutta. This is just an example. This wasn't a specific reality, but it's an example. Now the Emirates page has got a link from a trusted website like mine. It's more likely to rank, right? The way that I made so much money is I started building other sites. So I had 5, 6, 7, 10, 50 sites. When Emirates come to me and say, hey, Johnny, I'll give you $500 to publish this article, I can instantly say to them, give me 5 grand and I'll publish it on 15 of my sites. Negotiate whatever you want. Anyway, the sky's the limit. So that's why you want more sites, so you can upsell all your advertisers. Instantly, you can double, triple, quadruple your income. All right. How do you get the PBN? How do you build the PBN? This is the real value of the call today, to be honest, this little 5-minute snippet I'm about to give you guys. All right. Initially, I built all mine from scratch. So go to GoDaddy, buy the new domain, install WordPress, install a theme, and start from scratch. And that's still the most foolproof method. It just takes ages. It could take, because you need to build a DR from zero, all that stuff we talked about in the first and second call. It can take ages. You need to build your links. You need to build your, you need to do all your keyword research. You need to write all the content or have the AI write all the content. It'll probably take at least a year to get to your DR30. And you're probably doing it for 3, 4, 5, 6 sites. So it's a lot of work. But it is pretty cool if you want to get your head down and do it yourself. That's the cheapest way to do it too. Start it from scratch, work out a backlink portfolio, build your DR, and that's, as I say, the most solid way to build them, because it's unlikely that Google will ever punish you because it's all organic. That's the best way to do it, and Google would agree with that. However, it's slow, and who wants to make money slow? So how else can you do it? You can buy sites that already exist that people have fallen out of love with. And I've done this many times over the years, as have all my friends. I've spent up to 20 grand on sites before, and constantly, until I started having to save up for all this property stuff that I'm doing, I used to be dropping 1, 2, 3 grand every day on sites, buying sites, until we built up our stable of sites. So where can you buy them? There's a website called Flippa. That's actually spelled wrong. That Empire Flipper, but you can Google it, you'll find it. But this website, Flippa, is a very good one. It's basically a marketplace for people selling blogs. So perfect, basically. I'm signed in. All right, pretty simple here. It looks like Amazon or something. All right, whack in travel blog. I want to buy a travel blog. And here we are. Shitloads of travel blogs. I mean, they go up for 600 grand, but obviously you don't want to do that. If you're starting out, they're like 3 grand. Sometimes they're 500 bucks. Where's the price range? Anyway, you can play with this yourself. Hop on Flippa. They go all the way back down to like 500 bucks. The main thing you want to look for when you're buying a site is DR, domain rating. That's the first thing you want to search for. You want the domain rating. I wouldn't buy another site if the DR was under 20. So 20 plus is when you start to be interested. 30 plus, winner. 40 plus, 50 plus is like beautiful, but the price will probably reflect that. So anyway, don't buy anything under 20. 20 to 30 is up to you, and 30 plus for sure. If you can get it for under $1,000 or whatever, absolutely well worth the money. So that's one way to get them. Where the hell is this bloody thing gone? Give us 2 seconds. There we are. Empire Flipper is, if you're starting this with a big sexy budget, they sell proper blogs like mine. If I was to sell mine, I would sell it through those guys. So they go up to millions of dollars. So they start at like 100 grand. Unlikely that if you need advice from me at this stage, you're probably not about to drop 100 grand. I wouldn't recommend it. There's people who know a lot more than me would be spending that money. And then here's a sneaky way that I've made a lot of deals for sites over the years. But like, blogging is easy to make money from. I'm a moron and I've made a lot from it. However, people are lazy. That's the reality. So lots of people start them, even spend 4, 5, 6 years on them, and then fall out of love with them. And they just sit online. They've got their hosting paid on direct debit, and they exist forever. And they might have built DR over the years. They might have DR 30, 40, 50, 60, and they might have loads of content, and they haven't used it for years. And this is common, believe me, really common. So where can you find those? This is like, Gary Arndt used to be quite a big blogger. He stopped blogging now because he doesn't like the industry anymore. Fair play. I completely understand that. But he's got a list of blogs. Let me see if I find it here, of the best travel blogs in the world from over the years. It's got 57 pages of it. Oh, number 7. Thank you very much. Anyway, he's got 157 pages times 10. So he's got 1,500 blogs there, right? I guarantee you, if you go through those, half of them will be dead. You want to put some elbow grease in, contact every one of those guys, see if they're selling their blog. I'm sure you can buy some of those. That is a great way to do it. And I constantly do stuff like that. Every time I come across a blog on Google or whatever that hasn't been updated in a year, I contact them and say, like, if you stop using your blog, I'll buy it from you. And people are happy to offload it. So that's another way you can build your PBN. Once you have your site, exactly the same stuff that we talked about in this call, first call, second call, you need a content strategy. You can't just throw a load of shit at the wall. You got to create your pillar content, your cornerstone content, and create the satellite posts around it. That's always the strategy to make sure that you're going to rank organically, because even on your PBN, you still want your PBN sites, your second, third, fourth, fifth sites to still rank organically. The advertisers who are buying the sponsored posts, they are primarily interested in DR, as I said, but they do love if the sites have got traffic too, and you can charge more if they've got traffic. So if you write good content, satellite content, that's your best chance of those sites also ranking, having more traffic, and you can charge more. If you're starting from scratch, or if you're buying an old site that's redundant, you want to aim for 50 pieces of content. If the site that you've bought's already got 50 plus pieces, then you can spend your time updating 50 pieces of content that are already on there. But put the hard yards in and make sure you either create 50 new good pieces of content. Let's say 10 pillar posts or 10 cornerstone posts with 5 satellite posts around it, and either update old stuff if you bought an old site, or create 50 new pieces. And with this, when we started doing this 10 years ago, and for like 6-7 years, this used to take us weeks or months. But now with Koala and ChatGPT, you can do this in a week. It's amazing. So get going. Ideally too, this is a lot more work. But a friend of ours, one of my best mates here, Manuel, is currently doing this. He started a load of niche websites about legal stuff that he doesn't know anything about, but Koala wrote it all, and he started social channels for all of them. And in the future, currently the algorithm doesn't care about, currently the Google algorithm doesn't care about social media shares or anything, but ultimately, of course, it will. And he's future-proofing it by having social media accounts for each of his websites, which is really good practice, but a lot of work. And then for anyone who knows much about SEO, there was just a big update done on Google recently. It was called Useful Content Update or something like that. And most people who were using AI exclusively to write their content got smashed by Google, and they dropped in the rankings. However, my mate, for example, who showed me Koala instead of ChatGPT, so you're welcome, that'll buffer a little bit. Because all his socials and everything, it looked really realistic, and he didn't get touched at all by the updates. So to create each of your PBNs as if it's a real blog is the best practice. But of course, you can't dedicate as much time to it as your baby, because you might have 10 of them or 50 of them, whereas you can only really dedicate yourself truly to one. But you got to faux dedicate yourself to the other ones if you can, or have a team of virtual assistants to do it. All right. Once you've got this down, once you've got 5 sites, you can start thinking about niche sites, which is what I just explained with my buddy. I use the PBN to upsell for 2 reasons, really: to help me rank, which we'll talk about in a second, and to upsell my sponsored post people. That's how I use my PBN, and that's how I've made a lot of money. There is another way to use PBN. You can, if you buy a site or create a site that ends up with a high DR of 40 plus or 50 plus, you can rank for very obscure things, like gardeners in Chiang Mai or whatever. We know 2 of our friends here in Chiang Mai have got blogs on goldfish and swimming pools. They own one blog about these specific topics, very niche. It's a niche site. And they were making 20, 30K a month for years just off this one blog, because they ranked very well for a very specific niche. And that's what a niche site is. And you can use your PBN for that. And I've never done that, but obviously my friends here do that too. There's different methods to this. And then the secret that I almost didn't put in the in the presentation because it's such a fucking gem. If you're interested in really doing PBNs and like replicating what I've done, please, you can DM me on Instagram or whatever after if you need some help with this stuff. I can't do any coaching until the summer. I'm busy until the summer, but if you really want some help with this, message me now and we can discuss doing it in the summer. But there's a tool that is very helpful for building PBNs. It's called expired domains. So expired domains, much like I told you guys with searching Gary's list of blogs, as I told you, some people fall out of love with their blog and often they don't renew their hosting. So they've built their blog over 5 years. They don't even think to sell it. Some people don't know there's value in it and they just let it die. And sometimes those sites are quality and they've got high DR, high traffic, and they just let them go for free. And not sometimes, every day this happens. And if you can find one of those, it might only cost you $50 and it's actually instantly worth, could be 10 grand. It's really wild. We used to spend our lives on this website, but now I spend my money on property instead. But I used to spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day, every day for years on this website. It's called, as I said, expireddomains.net. You can hop in, marketplace domains, GoDaddy, expired domains. I know this is fast, but remember, this is going on YouTube, so you guys can retrack it. All right, so these are all domains that have just been let die, that you can now, if no one else bids on them, you can get them for $15. But of course, I'm not the only person who knows about this website. It's still quite a popular website. You guys might not know about it, but it's quite popular. So people are bidding on them. But you can get them as low as $500. Actually, you can get them for $50 often. And then you can just hit show filter. For example, we want it to contain the word travel. If you were wanting a travel blog, apply filter. And these are all the travel blogs that have expired over the last few months or just about to expire. You can see here, they're going to expire this week, next week, whatever, 10 minutes. So you have a look at them. Of course, you don't just buy them all. You only want to buy ones with high DR. So then you hop on to AH. We talked about this in a second. Paul, how to check DR. You just want to basically go through this whole list and check the DR for each site. So domain rating 0, move on to the next one. Domain rating 0, move on to the next one. Eventually you'll find ones that are like 25, 32, and then you can decide if you want to bid for them or not. This is a beautiful way to build your PBN. Very time consuming, but if you're starting on a budget, you can pick up some absolute steals. You can have a private blog network of 10 sites, a PBN of 10 sites within 3 months. And then of course you have to, these sites have expired, so they've lost their design and all the content. You're only buying the URL, but the DR is attached to the URL. So you can buy the URL, build a site build a new site on top of it, and it'll retain the DR. So that is alone worth anybody's time, that last little bit. We've only got 7 minutes left, Sam. So if you want to do any questions, we can finish up there.
Definitely. We've got lots of questions for you. Okay. How often do you post blogs? How often should you? And let's just rapid fire through these because I know some of these are just like standard advice. What's your answer to that?
If you're starting new, there is no limit for it. You should do it as often as possible. If you're literally going to quit your job and do it, churn out 2 a day, as many as possible, but quality.
Okay. I was going to put in the answers, or we're just going to answer them live. Okay. Remind us, how do we find our domain rating? What is your favorite tools for looking that up?
Can I just whack it in the chat there? What the hell's the cursor? We talked about it in the second call. There's a few different ones. If you just Google domain rating checker, a few will pop up. There's one there. I've just put in the chat too. Ahrefs has got one, and Moz has got another one. Is that? There's another one in the chat too. There's 2 anyway. And even if you don't pay for their services, you can do like 10 checks or 20 checks a day for free or whatever. It's enough.
Okay. The idea of putting someone else's blog post in your blog, doesn't that mess with your own niche, having random content? What is your comment towards that? And then a follow-up is, can you go into more detail about violating Google's terms? So I think those are related.
I don't really understand the first bit.
Like, I think I probably have an answer. I bet you're not allowing someone to pay you to have a blog that's all about how you and your partner can resolve conflict. Like, you're not going to put in a random piece of content.
That's cool. Yeah, it's up to you. You've got a personal choice whether you want to put that like obscure content on your blog. However, we talked about this in the second call, so I'm not going to answer a long question. You can orphan that content so none of your actual readers can see it. So it can be on your blog. The client gets the DR value, but it's not accessible to anyone without the URL directly. You can't search for it. You can't find it on your blog. So it's up to you whether you want to put it on. Google doesn't love it because it's out of your niche, so it weakens your site a little bit. But I mean, everything's got its price, so it's up to you whether you want to do that. But you can orphan it so it's not findable by your readers.
Okay, that's cool. And then what about violating Google's terms? Can you talk a little bit more about
fuck Google.
red flags?
Like they want to control what goes first, second, third, and that's cool. That's their prerogative. And I'm going to make my money by trying to help other people finish first, second, and third. That's it. They don't want me to do that. I don't want them to force feed me sponsored posts, sponsored results 1, 2, 3 either, do I? That's life. So Google the actual thing that Google doesn't allow is the purchase of or sales of links. That, strictly speaking, according to Google, you should never take payment to link to another website. That's it, black and white. But, you know, for example, I link to, like, I'm a massive Liverpool fan. Awful week it's been with Jurgen Klopp leaving, but I link to Liverpool all the time, right? They don't pay me for that. So there's no way that Google know that, oh, Emirates have paid me, but Liverpool haven't paid me. You know what I mean? It's very gray that they can't understand who's paid and who's not paid. Because I link to stuff all the time. Like I would link to Skyscanner or Booking.com just naturally, but they haven't paid me. But then some insurance company or whatever might have paid me. You don't know. So as long as you're not a moron and making it obvious, knock yourself out.
How would you make it obvious? Just in case we are morons.
By well, it takes one to know one. By writing something like you said about if you're writing some obscure topic that's completely out of your niche, and then squeeze a keyword in that completely like acupuncture in Beijing, you know what I mean? But you're a food blogger in London.
Got it. Okay, cool. Michael or Michelle says Google doesn't like the PBN methodology. Why?
Because they want to sell the first 3 spots to the highest bidder, whereas we do it behind the scenes organically. You know what I mean? So basically, like a wealthy client can either pay to be in those sponsored results, which cost an absolute fortune, by the way, literally can be like $1 per click, really costs a lot, or they can pay people who understand SEO like me and people who know much more than me. They can pay them like 20 grand as a contractor once, and they can build all these links to their client website. And then, yes, they won't be the 1, 2, 3 sponsor, but they might be the first organic result. And that might have cost them 20 grand for all these links to be built to their site, which is expensive. But if they rank number 1 forever, that's so much cheaper than paying Google to finish in sponsored results. So much cheaper.
Okay. Alexandra wants to know, are you putting do follow or no follow links in these blog posts? And when would you change?
Clients won't pay for no follow.
Okay. Because that's how you get the DN, right? If you put no follow, then it doesn't help.
Exactly, yeah. There's only value in do follow.
Okay. Any advice for blogging on Substack? I think you talked about this before.
Yeah, this is a whole different thing. Substack, I feel, is more about building your personal brand, which I think is really, really fucking cool, by the way. I think it's really cool. It's your actual voice. Like often blogging can be a chore. 10 things to do in Denver. No one wants to write that, but if it pays you in bills, it's okay. Whereas Substack thinks about building your personal brand, which I think is actually far cooler. But also Substack, you're getting into the social media side of things where you have to either be really beautiful or really lucky to get big. Whereas with blogging, if you put the hard yards in, regardless of who you are, you can make it.
Yeah, Substack, none of this keyword stuff that we've been talking about or domain rating, any of that is relevant there, right? It's more of a marketplace for content. So it's about like thought leadership,
Right,
totally
exactly.
different strategy. Okay, cool. Okay, here's a scenario. Alexander, we've had a blog for a while. It's mostly a general travel blog. We went through a name change last year and have gotten our DR back up to 39. Should we focus on niche content on that blog or start to build new sites and keep the old one a mix of things as it has been?
Right. So it's a personal choice, really. It depends what you also want to do as well. Like, is your goal to make money explicitly, or do you also want to? For me, like, I like to make money, but I'm also very proud of my personal journey, and I'm very proud of my brand. So I don't want to ruin it, right? And if I owned a blog with a DR39, if it was my baby, I would and I wanted it to retain it as my baby, I would niche it down a little bit, to grow authority in whatever your niche is. And then I would absolutely start a second, third, fourth site, because you can already, with DR39, you can rank. So you can you can rank for some nice keywords. So you can already generate organic traffic. So you can make money in the traditional sense. You can certainly sell sponsored posts because the DR39 is sexy. And at that stage, once you can sell sponsored posts, you can upsell them on your second, third, fourth site. So, I mean, with a DR39, you should be able to make, I mean, this is just absolute pulling numbers from my head, but you should be able to make 2-3 grand a month from sponsored posts alone. And then if you've got second, third, fourth site, that can easily be 5-6 grand and you're barely working.
And so if I heard something like that and I looked at my site and it had that number, how are we even finding the brands who want to do the sponsored posts? Like, because that is a whole art on its own, is pitching and cold outreach. Is there a workaround for getting on a brand's radar quickly?
The best way is to swap with people in your network. You need to network within your, like, if you're a food blogger, network in the food blogging community. If you're a travel blogger, network and then swap contacts. If you've got a DR39, you'll have had a handful, if not shitloads of inquiries for sponsored posts already. So you will have 5, 10, 20, 50 contacts that have tried to buy sponsored posts from you, and you can give those to other bloggers in exchange for them giving you, and before you know, you'll have a list of 500 people who have bought links in the past, and you can pitch them.
Nice. Okay, cool. A couple more. Okay, in key search, my domain strength is 1, but then when I look it up in the website SEO checker, it says 18. How do I know which is the real one?
Oh God, I've got no idea. But it depends on which site you've used. If it's Ahrefs or Moz or SEMrush, then trust that for sure. Key search is that like a third-party tool, whereas those got the 2 links that I've put in the chat are the bot there that they own SEO, those guys. So whatever they say your DR is, that's your DR.
Okay, final 2. Can you raise your domain rating from links within your PBN or from other sites you own?
Yes, you can.
It's a good hack.
It is a good hack, but the algorithm, if you get caught, then your whole PBN can get caught. This is like a constant discussion in the SEO PBN world. So like if I write something, if I want to rank for some difficult keyword, I could, of course, then I could give myself 20 backlinks from 20 of my sites. And I have done it before because I want to rank. But then I can't even remember the tool, but there's a tool that can see like the spider's web, and it's very apparent if you're like interlinking between 20 sites. It shows you like, I think it's one of the either Ahrefs or Moz. It shows you if you put if I put one step forward into this tool, it'll show me the network of sites that are linking to me. And one time we were doing it regularly. I could see it's basically my bloody PBN. So you can get rumbled very quickly. It's dangerous. So if you're going to do it sporadically and selectively for things that are worthwhile to rank for, but don't do it as a matter of practice.
Okay. Yeah, I even noticed that if I have multiple Instagram accounts attached to one iPhone and I toggle between the other Instagram accounts to like my content, that completely messes up the algorithm, and they can tell you're doing that and they stop showing it.
Really?
So
Wow.
it sounds very similar to this. I know. They're always trying to get in our way. Okay. Last question. Are your PBN websites in any way related or linked to your main one, which is one step forward? Kind of like what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I think literally maybe the first 2, 3, 4 that I built from scratch. Remember I said the first ones I built from scratch before I started buying them? Because I was doing it innocently. I didn't know about PBNs and sponsored content, that I was actually just starting new sites. So I didn't know. So my name is on like a handful of them, sure. But all the new ones, now I understand what I'm doing. They're absolutely not linked at all. And I own loads of sites in different niches like home improvement and fitness and again, my name's not anything to do with those. So because sometimes an advertiser will be like, Johnny, what? And they know you then after what years, right? They know who you are. So then they'll come, they know that you're quick and you're on the ball, and they'll be like, Johnny, I know you've got all these sites, but you don't have any sites about cars, do you? And you're like, oh, actually, I do have two. He's like, because I've got two advertisers for cars. Boom, $500. Cheers. See you later.
Nice. Amazing. Okay. So much content, so much information. Thank you so much. You said this might be your last one, but I think we're going to try to talk behind the scenes and not let that from happening because we still have so many questions. You
Yeah.
always draw a great audience with engaged
Didn't get to
people.
talk about Everest next time.
Yep, that's true. Do you want to tell us the best part and the worst part of your
Oh
trip?
no, I'll
And
save it.
then
I'll save it. I'll
save
because
it.
you know what?
For
Like
the
when
next one.
I was like hungover one morning in both in Kathmandu and in the South Pole, and I did like an Ask Me Anything on my Instagram stories. I got loads of cool questions, and then I just never did anything with it. So I need to go back and answer them all.
Well, there you go. There's where you can go find more information on that. Check out his Instagram. I think it's One Step Forward is the handle, same as your blog. And then we'll have a replay go out on this to everybody. I know there's a lot of questions about the last couple YouTube links. So hopefully everyone has them now. You can find them on the YouTube channel for SafetyWing. We have a playlist called webinars. You can find them all there. And then I believe they get emailed out. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.